See, y'all, alignment produces authenticity. Let me give you some examples of some things that happen when you're not authentic. You want a list? Number one, people pleasing. You become an ultimate people pleaser. Some of you are supreme people pleasers because you're not living an authentic life. And you would rather please people than to be true to who you are, what you believe, what you say, and what you do. So show me someone who's screaming anxiety, 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 who's not living in an aligned, authentic life, and I'll show you someone who 9 times out of 10 is probably a people pleaser. And this is what we plant in our children when we don't teach children that the behaviors and the attitudes of other people ain't got jack squat to do with you. Nothing to do with you. Daddy, mommy, what about my parents? What about grandpa? What about grandma? What about daddy? We're included. This is where some of you knucklehead parents mess up. You literally try to make kids carry your drama. Y'all wouldn't believe this. There are a lot of parents walking around here guilt tripping their kids. And I'm not talking about grown kids. I'm talking about kids and grown kids. Guilt tripping their kids because their kids can't feel their pain. You're the adult. Y'all don't like this. I don't care. Guilt tripping your kids because your kids ain't carrying your pain as if they're supposed to. Well, you my baby. You're supposed to feel how daddy feel. You're supposed to feel how mama feel. That's a lie. Y'all stop that. You ain't doing nothing but traumatizing them kids. And some of you have trauma right now from your childhood that is directly connected to having parents who made you wear their burdens, which is why parents, if you can't pay your bills and you got little kids in the house, the worst thing you can do is tell your kids you're struggling to pay your bills. Y'all don't like this kind of teaching. Because you teach kids to internalize your struggles, and they in turn become people pleasers as a result of it. No, Doc, we family, we all in this together. No, we not. My kids 10 and 11, it ain't their job to wonder how the light's gonna get cut on. It's not their job to wonder how the rent gonna get paid. It's not their job to wonder how they gonna get to school. Who gonna pick them up? And some of you are such piss poor parents that your kids, 15, 16, 17, are screaming for anxiety meds because you're making problems theirs that don't belong to them. And yes, I'm screaming. Y'all, there was a day. I'm going to just say this, and then I'm going to give you some other things that happen when you're not authentic. Let me say this real quick. There was a day where kids were the last to know everything. Like, I grew up at a time where the kids were the last to know everything. Like, literally, you were full grown before you learned of a lot of stuff, a lot of struggles, before you learned who was messing with who, before you learned that Uncle such and such had a problem with Aunt such and such. You were the last to know stuff as a kid. I grew up in that day where kids were the last to know that there was a struggle. We, in fact, grew up, we didn't hardly have much of anything at all. I tell my clients all the time a story about my father. His first house was literally the size of my living room and kitchen put together. I grew up in that house until I was about 15 years old. And let me tell you something, even as a young teenager, I thought we had it all. I had no idea we had all the struggles that we had until I got older. You know why? Because it wasn't my job to know. And you know what some of you knucklehead parents do? Some of you knucklehead parents complain to your kids about how you can't pay the bills, and you wonder why they grow up with unnecessary tension. It ain't their problem, it's yours. You know what we do today? You literally tell your kids everything. You tell your kids the bills you can't pay. You tell your kids who you dating. You tell your kids where you going every 5 minutes. You tell your kids who you talking to, who you on the phone with. You do all of this stuff and wonder why your kids feel so traumatized. Let me tell you something else a lack of authenticity does. People pleasing, yeah. Let me tell you something else it does. It causes you to live in delusion, which is where some of you are living in. Some of you, your whole life is bound in delusion. Because when you're not authentic, you don't accept things and people for what they are. You absolutely don't accept things and people for who they are when you're living in delusion. And a lot of y'all didn't like that video I put up. I don't care. It was one of the best video clips I put up. Because many of you are calling this thing, this stress that you're feeling, this tension that you're feeling, anxiety, when really you're just being delusional. I said in the video, they cheated 7 times, got a secret family in China, and you still wondering, what should I do, Doc? He got 4 babies in California, 2 in Texas, and 1 in Afghanistan, and I'm pregnant with the 8th one. What should I do? This is the stuff that I hear on a regular basis. And many of you are not living in authenticity because you don't accept things and people for what they are. And when you don't accept things in people for who they are, you can't be authentic. And if you're not authentic, you're not in alignment. And if you're not in alignment, that ain't anxiety. That's unnecessary tension. Stop calling it anxiety. Why don't you line your life up? Why don't you get your life in alignment so you can call a thing and stop playing with yourself? Let me tell you something else a lack of authenticity does. Lack of authenticity causes you to be a people pleaser. Lack of authenticity causes you to live in delusion. A lack of authenticity, this is big, causes you to have what I call selective outrage. The reason why I know what you're calling anxiety ain't anxiety is because you have selective outrage, which means you give certain things in people a pass, and then the things that you do give a pass, you shouldn't give a pass. Selective outrage. So it ain't anxiety. Why don't you try being authentic across the board and stop giving the people you love and your family a pass because they're people you love and that's your family, and call a thing a thing. So you don't have to get on calls with me or your other counselor, your other therapist, coach, whatever, and try to justify why you make the decisions you make in the name of the people that you make those decisions for. Selective outrage. Y'all, I'm talking about the data that I have. Most of the people that have been on calls with me, they're talking about I got anxiety. When I break them down, it'd be a whole bunch of selective outrage. They be mad about stuff that really ain't that big a deal, and they ignore stuff they should really be pissed off about. And these are people who are living inauthentic lives. Is this making sense? Support the show. My stomach is growling. Listen, y'all, I hope this made sense. If it did, I want you to type church in the comments with 3 R's. And then I want you to remember you've got 2 jobs. 1, be better today than what you were yesterday. And 2, don't forget what I told you.